What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwi coach. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're actually going to be giving you guys a video about alignment. It's going to be really interesting. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So without further ado, let's go do this thing. So welcome back to the channel guys. You guys are new to Kiwi Golf Japan. We do a bunch of videos like this every single week. So what you got to go do is hit that little red subscribe button. Smash the like button. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this video on alignment. Did it change your thoughts? And as always, hit that little bell notification. You guys are going to get notified every single time we drop the video. So the inspiration behind this video was really because of my Tsukuba outdoor driving range lessons. Now, because it's an outdoor driving range, for me as a coach, it's really easy to see, hey, where's this client trying to align towards? Where's the golf ball going relative to that? And if I give them like a simple problem like, hey, let's go hit that 150-yard target, I can see where they're trying to align currently, and again, where the golf ball ends up. And what I've been finding a lot of the times is when a client says they struggle with a certain miss, it could actually have been avoided with simple alignment ideas. Now, yes, swing mechanics are incredibly important, and it's going to make a lot more sense where swing mechanics will actually come into this equation later on in this video. However, to start off your journey, and you can do this without a coach, you could just simply do what we're going to talk about in this video, get your alignment better, and you're probably going to shoot lower scores just because of that. So that being said, the first part of this video, we're actually going to be talking about really kind of how to actually start the process of alignment. Now, we're not going to go over the cookie cutter, you should have railroad tracks, like you should be looking here, all that bullshit. We're going to start out with actual real data for you guys and show you guys how to track it and then show you guys how to section it off. Then based off what we learn with that data, we're going to go into an actual Encore scenario and show you guys how to actually start planning where you should be aligning on the golf course relative to this data. And then the last part of the video, we're going to be talking about really the 3 points of alignment and kind of show you how to really think about alignment in a better way on the course. So without further ado, let's go hop into the first part of this video, which is going to be the data. Okay, so before we get into data, let's just talk about TrackMan and FlightScope for a second. So TrackMan and FlightScope, they use this terminology called the target line. And really, if you think about it, the target line is really where the flight scope is aligned. Where's that Doppler technology aligned towards? That is really going to be the target line. For me, I really don't like the name of that because what happens is a lot of clients, when they hear the target line, they think they need to hit the target line. And I think that's actually kind of one of the worst ways you can actually use a flight scope or a TrackMan. And I'd much rather you guys think about it as a reference line. So the reference line just means, yes, you should align the sweet spot of your golf club relative to that reference line. However, from there, you should make your normal golf swing. So don't try to necessarily hit it at the target line. Just try to make a normal swing that you normally do, and then see where the golf balls start to land relative to that reference line. I think that's the better way to go about using TrackMan and FlightScope. And this is what you're going to see that information used in this video. And let me kind of break down a graph that I've drawn for you guys. So if we take a look at the graph, you can see a little zero here and you can see this line. This again is a reference line, right? So this is where the flight scope would be aligned towards, and this is where your sweet spot would be aligned towards. And then all these little dots are really where the golf ball is landing relative to that reference line. And as you can see, we have about 5, 10, 15, 20. Then we have about 5, 10, 15 to the left. And this is really just giving us kind of our parameters of how many yards away from the reference line are our golf balls landing. Now, another thing that you're seeing here is I'm actually sectioning off all of these kind of increments where the golf balls are landing within. And this is going to start really allowing me to look at the data in a lot more common sense way, where I feel like a lot of times people tend to look at just their averages and they don't really look at the data the way that we're going to look at it, which I think is more so the important way. So let's go break this down for you. So first off, let's go take a look from 0 to 5 yards left. So as you can see, we have some shots right around here. Well, let's go take a look at how many shots fell within there. So 5 to 0 yards left. We had about 10 out of our 50 shots end up in that category, which means about 20% of our shots from 5 to 0 yards left of that reference line. Now from 10 yards to 5 yards left of that reference line, we have right around, how many shots is that? 2 out of 50 shots, which ends up being about roughly 4% of our shots is falling within this category. Now from here, we're going to go to 5 to 0 yards right? So that's from here to here. So from 5 to 0 yards right, we're actually having about 30 out of our 50 shots fall within that category. So that's 60% of our shots are there. And then from the 10 to 5 yard right category, we're having roughly right around 5 out of our 50 shots here, which is 10% of our shots. And then from here, we have 15 to 10 yards right of that reference line, and that's 3 out of 50 of our shots, which is about 6%, right? So what is this allowing us to do? Well, first off, it's really allowing us to kind of look at a data set in a little bit more of an in-depth look. See, again, most people are going to see this, and they're going to instantly freak out and be like, Kiwi coach, I have a two-way miss. It's the end of the world. I can't play golf. I can't manage this, right? And I'm here to kind of show you with the next example how just understanding your two-way miss is actually going to allow you to probably play golf a lot more effectively than you were even before, and not even getting better with your two-way miss and actually just using what you got, basically. So let's go hop into the second part, which is going to be the encore scenario. All right, so let's go to the encore scenario. So right here, if you can kind of see, this is kind of our center line of the fairway. Obviously, this is our green. Now, I know the scale of the hole is obviously kind of condensed here, but let's say that this is about a par 4, right? Let's say it's maybe, I don't know how many yards, but it's a par 4. So from here, from the center line to the right edge of the fairway, we have about 10 yards. From the right edge of the fairway to pretty much the right edge of the bunker, we have about 5 yards. And then from the right edge of the fairway to about the OB, we have roughly right around 20 yards. So that means from the center line of the fairway, we have about 30 yards to the OB, and we have about 15 yards to the bunker. Keep that in mind, that'll be important here in a sec. Now from here, from the center line to the left edge of the fairway, we have about roughly 20 yards, and then from the left edge of the fairway to the tree line, we have about 25 yards. So that means we have from the center line to the tree line about 45 yards, right? So again, when I'm thinking about, and this is a tee shot, by the way, as you can tell, when I'm thinking about a tee shot, this is really how I'm starting to kind of break down the hole. This is what the numbers that I need to find first. Now from here, you're probably thinking, okay, so Kiwi coach, where should I align? Well, let's go reference our alignment real quick. So I always like to start off with, let's just align at the center line first and then see where our data will fall if we do that. So if I align at this center line right here, let's see how many shots are actually going to go OB, right? So we have about 30 yards until we get OB. So let's go down to our chart. Let's go to the right misses. Do we have any shots that are 30 yards right or more? And we actually have 0%, right? So if I aim at the center line, 0% of our shots are actually going OB. That's a good thing, right? So that means we're pretty confident, and this is probably starting to look like maybe a pretty easy driver hole, right? It doesn't seem too intimidating with this current data set. Obviously, I know some of you guys are probably going to have that 30, 40 yard right miss, so then obviously that'd be slightly different. However, in this particular example, we're using this data set. You can really do it for yourself. Just follow the same steps. Okay, now how many shots are going to get us into the bunker, right? So we have 15 yards till we get to the bunker. So actually we have maybe about 3 of our shots, or 6% of our 50 shots might get us into this right-hand bunker. So now when I'm looking at this center line now, I'm like, okay, well I might still have a little bit of percentage that gets me in the bunker, and realistically, kind of the bunker, OB is the worst, obviously. I think trees is maybe the second worst, and then bunker might be the third worst. So obviously, if I can, I want to try to avoid all of these, and I want to make sure that 0% of my shots are going to fall in none of these areas, basically, right? So let's see if we can actually do that. So already, if I aim center line, I have a percentage of shots that align the bunker. So let's actually see if I can align a little bit more left. So to do that, first off, let's figure out our left misses over here, right? So our worst left miss is right around 10 yards left, right? And we have about 4% of our shots fall in that category. And that's about 10 yards left. So if I go align, let's say I wanted to align at kind of the middle of the left-hand side, or sorry, the left fairway, and kind of the middle of that. So if I am there, I have roughly right around 35 yards until I get to the trees. None of this shots over here is actually going to get me into trouble. Also, I have 10 yards left until I get into the left-hand rough, and really I only have about maybe, where is it right here? I only have maybe about 4% chance of actually doing that. Now, if I aim here, I now have 10 plus 10 plus 5, so that's 25 yards until I get into the bunker, and really none of my right-hand shots are going to get into that position. So now, personally, in my opinion, if I align here with my sweet spot, and this is my reference line here now, I'm actually going to have the best percentage to miss all of the trouble. And again, I didn't get my current shot pattern better. I didn't go to a lesson. I didn't do the new swing theory. I didn't do the shallowing swing. But I still was able to mitigate my risk just by understanding this simple idea, right? So now let's go break down kind of the 3 ideas around alignment. So now, where this straight line is, this is again is going to be our reference line, right? And again, our reference line is this 0 mark right here. So when we're aligning on the course, we should align that sweet spot up to our reference line right here. Now, next thing we need to think about is going to be starting line. And this is where a lot of people, I think, get confused. Starting line doesn't necessarily need to be where the reference line is. And that's where a lot of people, again, get confused. So what I did here was I drew a couple lines, which I want to kind of show you. So I have a line that goes kind of right around here, and then I have a line that kind of goes right around here, and it creates kind of an angle here. So this little angle is going to be our acceptable starting line, or our really the starting lines that we typically get. And again, we can base this off of our current lateral deviation chart, which is right here, and we can kind of see the spread that we currently have, and then we could probably draw a reasonable starting line angle, and we can kind of see, okay, this is probably within the range where our starting line is going to be. So that's the second thing you got to think about. And then the third thing you got to think about is really the end point. And to me, the end point is not a specific little target. Now, you might want to actually think about trying to hit a little tiny target, but that doesn't mean that that's actually what's going to happen, right? And this is what's happening in this graph. This is our end point, and we base that off of our, obviously, our current lateral deviation. And so we draw basically a little circle here. And so from this center line, we have roughly to the right, our worst miss is about 15 yards. So we put a little point here about 15 yards right of the reference line. And then from the left, our worst miss left is right around here, which is about 10 yards left. So then we put a little point here, and then we draw a little circle around that. And again, that's going to be our end point. So again, when you're on the golf course, this would be kind of how I'd like you to think about the 3 ideas of alignment. There's really the reference line, which is where you're aligning that sweet spot towards. There's the starting line, which is most likely going to be different or in a different direction than the reference line. And then there's the endpoint grid or circle, or whatever you want to think about, that you also got to think about there. What you're trying to do is you're trying to direct these in the most optimal place to where you can try to avoid the most amount of trouble as best as you possibly can. And again, being able to direct this doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be aiming at the center of the fairway. In this particular case, we're aiming actually at the left center of the fairway. Some holes you might even be aiming at the left rough based off your shot pattern, right? Again, you never really know. It's really up to you to first find your data, section off your data, find the course that you're playing, find out these measurements that we've done here, figuring out how far away from all the trouble, all that good stuff, and then trying to take your current grid and be like, okay, where is the most optimal place I can align this? Some of you guys out there are, no matter where you align it, are going to still hit a percentage of shots OB with your driver. So is there a place to where I can get the least amount of shots OB? Where should I be aligning this? Is it all the way in the trees? Is it all the way here? Again, it's going to change relative to the player and what your grid pattern is here. But again, this is the way that you got to start thinking about alignment out on the golf course. And I recommend you guys to strongly do this. So I'm going to leave that video off on there. Hopefully you guys like that video. I think it's really informative. It's what I tell all our pros to kind of think about when they're thinking about alignment. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Check out our website. We've got a bunch of webinar products on there for you. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Real quick, guys, before you click off the video, don't click off. I want to tell you guys something. If you guys actually kind of want to do something similar and you guys want to actually create these grid dispersions and track all this and kind of be able to do this, you got to check out our FlightScope rental program. Utilizing the FlightScope, and the power of it is you can actually track everything that we talked about in this video through FlightScope. And then from there, you can go and kind of create your own data list like we have, and then start using it on the course. And the best part about that rental program is you can actually take the FlightScope to the golf course. So if you want to actually track this on the golf course as well, you can do it there as well. So if you guys are interested in that FlightScope rental program, click the link down below. Highly recommend it. It's going to help up your game to the next level.